Hey there, my name's Dean and I live in North Vancouver, Canada, and I'm going to share with you some of my perspectives after owning five different types of adventure or dual sport motorcycles over the last 4 or 5 years. So part one, I'm going to focus on my experiences with a 2018 CRF 250 Rally, which was actually my first bike that I purchased. And I purchased the bike at the beginning of COVID. I'd met up with some friends that were into adventure motorcycling, and I wasn't really sure, how to get into the sport, what bike was right for me, et cetera, a lot of unknowns. And also I wasn't really prepared to go and spend a bunch of money on a bike either. So I started looking for some used bikes, and my very first bike when I was 5 years old was a Honda 50. So I felt pretty comfortable with the brand. And in my search, I found a 2018 CRF 250 Rally that had very low kilometers on it. And the previous owner, one owner, actually had put quite a lot of money into upgrading the suspension, front and rear, to Öhlins, which was kind of rare for a bike of that class, and a few other upgrades that he had done to make the bike pretty amazing. So I bought the bike and quickly spent way too much money upgrading foot pegs and bark busters and all sorts of things. And that's a lesson for sure that I want to share with you. When you first get into the sport and you buy a bike, don't spend too much money on it. Just ride it the way it is. You don't need to do much to it. Make sure you've got a good skid plate. Make sure that you've got good tires. And that's pretty much it. Anyway, my experience with the CRF 250 only lasted for about 6 months, and I'll tell you why. The bike was amazing. I loved the way it looked. I loved the way it handled. The suspension was good. Power, I think it was about 28 horsepower. And with the Yoshimura exhaust, and I'm going to show some pictures here. I'll put some pictures in after I edit this conversation. And the bike was great. I took it on some pretty good off-road adventures with my pals. And on one of the trips coming back from the interior, had to travel on a major highway. And I was riding with a bunch of guys on bigger bikes, twin cylinders, Africa Twins, KTM 890s, etc. And they were able to pull way ahead of me on the highway. In fact, the maximum speed that I was able to sustain was around 110, 120. And it was probably closer to 110, taking into consideration the adjustment of the speedometer on motorcycles. Anyway, because the bike was going so slow and I was traveling so slow, there are many times when cars would come up behind me on the Coquihalla driving at speeds in excess of 130 kilometers an hour. I felt quite a few times pretty close to being rear-ended. So on that trip back, and this is about 4 or 5,000 kilometers in, I decided that the CRF 250 was definitely not going to be the bike that I was going to stick with for a long time. But my experiences with that bike and my recommendation for a bike in that class and budget and so on definitely stand. There are many other bikes in the similar class and similar price, a DR 400, I think it is, or a DRZ 650, both Suzuki's, two other really great entry-level bikes to get into. And actually not even just entry-level. I ride with a bunch of guys that is their primary bike, and they're great. And they do great riding on it, and they enjoy it. And for whatever reason, it's the right bike for them. And the most important thing is that you find a bike that's right for you and the way that you ride. Don't get pressured into keeping up with the Joneses and, buying BMWs or anything like that. But that's another chapter in this story. So at the end of the day, if you're getting into motorcycling or adventure motorcycling, I highly recommend starting with an inexpensive price bike, and definitely get a used one. And because you're going to drop it, you're going to bang it up, and that's going to be okay. And but set in your mind that the bike that you purchase, the first bike that you purchase, may not be the bike that lasts you for a year or longer. And then again, it might too. So it's a very individual decision on what bike to buy or what bike to move on to. But my experience with the CRF, the Honda CRF 250, it was great. And I recommend it. And I've got lots of great memories. And I'm going to show a few pictures here in this reel. Thanks for listening to me. And I hope this information was useful.